like to bring up that we are in a new year, 1991, which brings a new slot of video games to talk about. So we are going to continue this trend of talking about video games within the year in which they released. So today's video game I would like to talk about came out in April of 1991 on the Nintendo Gameboy, and it is WWF Superstars. And if you remember playing this one on your little green tinted screen of the Game Boy, I believe this was actually a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
Considering it being on a Game Boy handheld system, and it actually added more aspects. I mean, I think there's less wrestlers than the NES counterpart, but it adds a little bit of flair to it that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, we watched a video, and they actually, the back and forth, they had a little back and forth where they were talking trash to each other, and the trash talk was directed towards whoever they were playing or facing against.
Yeah, so one comment is kind of a generic, what that superstar would say to anybody, but then they come back and the other superstar says something. The second comment is directed towards the opponent.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect was like, I'm gonna perfect plex you.
No, he said something about for being savage.
Oh, yeah.
You look like a wimp or something.
Yeah,
but the point is that...
And Macho Kings was really cool.
Yeah. So, I really thought it was kind of neat that they added that little flair, and then at the end of a match, there's an announcer that actually...
Yeah, it looked like it was probably Vince McMahon.
It kind of looked like it, but it's hard to say with Game Boy graphics if that was technically McMahon or who that.
It could literally be anybody in a suit, to be honest with you.
But yeah, it was a WWF announcer in a suit. But yeah, it could have been McMahon. But I couldn't find any proof.
That's the voice I read those in.
Oh, okay. So the game features 5 wrestlers. You can play as Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, The Ultimate Warrior, The $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and Mr. Perfect are the 5 playable characters. And
they all had like a Game Boy version of their music, except
$1 Million
Man,
yeah.
Which I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is what I would assume. $1 Million Man, as we've known on the podcast, has just recently got his famous Money, Money, Money song. I believe about 2 pay-per-views ago.
Yeah.
And video games back then took so long to make. You know, they were in development for quite a while. My guess is when they were developing this game, they didn't have the music for him yet. Where everybody else had their music already in the show.
Right.
So they just gave him some kind of generic music that wasn't his own.
So I also like to point out that the campaign, as we are known to call it nowadays, consists of you going through. There's 5 wrestlers, so you're obviously playing as one. You go through the other 4 wrestlers, and at the end of the campaign, you are the WWF champion.
Yeah, and they showed. We watched a playthrough with Macho King Randy Savage, and he finished it off beating the Ultimate Warrior, and they showed his face at the end, and then they had this music that, I don't know about you, but it kind of reminded me of the music in Punch-Out!
Oh, okay.
It kind of sounded very Punch-Out! Like when you win a match on Punch-Out! At the end, the little music they play at the end there.
Yeah, so I think that's about all you can really talk about this game. It's a very small sample size game. But
we are still in 1991,
yes.
And not to mention Game Boy, which had a much smaller,
Yeah, and this was before Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, it was still green.
This game had that green tint, but for it being a Game Boy game, it was actually I thought very cool, considering that we had just reviewed the NES, which we had definitely played back in the day. And you compare it to the NES game, and it is actually really held up pretty good. It looked like it kind of added some flair, stuff that the NES game did not have. I think the NES game had more players to choose from, but other than that...
And I mean, the gameplay was probably somewhat similar to the NES. The thing that we thought was really cool is the trash talk beforehand is what I don't recall that being in the NES one at all. And it was not only was it not just generic, but they were trash talking with things that made sense for their character and made sense to who they're trash talking.
It just really felt that they actually gave this some love.
In fairness, this is also a little bit after the NES one. So, I mean, it didn't come out at the same time.
No. About a year or so after. So that's going to do it for our video game aspect of the show.